Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantasto Hyabadrani Vidonote Saharachatam Nashtapraya Shabadreshu Nityam Bhagavada Sadaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavadinaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, titled Prithu Maharaj's Meeting with the Kumaras, texts 14 and 15. Bhavatsu kushala prashna atma rameshu nishyate kushala kushala yatra nashanti mati vrittaya. Bhavatsu kushala prashna atma rameshu nishyate kushala kushala yatra nashanti mati vrittaya. Synonyms. Bhavatsu, unto you. Kushala, good fortune. Prashna, question. Atma arameshu, one who is always engaged in spiritual bliss. Na ishyate, there is no need of. Kushala, good fortune. Akushalaha, inauspiciousness. Yatra, where. Na, never. Shanti exists. Mati, vrittaya, mental concoction. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prithu Maharaj continued, my dear sirs, there is no need to ask about your good and bad fortune because you are always absorbed in spiritual bodies, spiritual bliss. The mental concoction of the auspicious and inauspicious does not exist in you. Purport. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya 4.176, it is said, Dvaite avadra badra jnana sabha mano dharma ei bhala ei manda ei bhala ei manda ei sabha brahma. In this material world, the auspicious and inauspicious are simply mental concoctions because such things exist only due to association with the material world. This is called illusion or Atma Maya. We think ourselves created by material nature exactly as we think ourselves experiencing so many things in a dream. The spiritual soul, however, is always transcendental. There is no question of becoming materially covered. This covering is simply something like a hallucination or a dream. In Bhagavad Gita 2.62, it is also said, Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. Simply by association, we create artificial material necessities. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsha Sangastesho Pajateshu Pajayate. When we forget our real constitutional position and wish to enjoy the material resources, our material desires manifest, and we associate with varieties of material enjoyment. As soon as the concoctions of material enjoyment are there, because of our association, we create a sort of lust or eagerness to enjoy them. And when that false enjoyment does not actually make us happy, we create another illusion known as anger. And by the manifestation of anger, the illusion becomes stronger. When we are illusioned in this way, forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna follows. And by thus losing Krishna consciousness, our real intelligence is defeated. In this way, we become entangled in this material world. In Bhagavad Gita 2.63, it is said, Krodhat bhavati sammoham, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshad buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. By material association, we lose our spiritual consciousness. Consequently, there is the question of the auspicious and inauspicious. But those who are Atma Rama or self-realized have transcended such questions. Atma Ramas or self-realized persons, gradually making further progress in spiritual bliss, come to the platform of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the perfection of life. In the beginning, the Kumaras were self-realized impersonalists, but gradually they became attracted to the personal pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that for those who are always engaged in devotional service of the personality of Godhead, the duality of the auspicious and inauspicious does not arise. Prithu Maharaj is therefore asking about auspiciousness not for the sake of the Kumaras but for his own sake. Text 15. Tadaham krita vishrambha suhrido vastapasvinam sampriche bhava etasmin kshemaha kenanjasa bhaved. Tat, therefore, aham, I, krita vishrambha, being completely assured, suhruda, friend, va, our, tapasvinam, suffering material pangs, sampriche, wish to inquire, bhave, in this material world, etasmin, this, kshemaha, ultimate reality, kena, by which means, anjasa, without delay, bhavet, can be achieved. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'm completely assured that personalities like you are the only friends for persons who are blazing in the fire of material existence. I therefore ask you how in this material world we can very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life. Purport. When saintly persons go from door to door to see those who are too much materially engaged, it is to be understood that they do not go to ask anyone for their personal benefit, ask anything for their personal benefit. It is a fact that saintly persons go to materialists just to give real information of the auspiciousness. Maharaj Prithu was assured of this fact. Therefore, instead of wasting time by asking the Kumaras about their welfare, he preferred to inquire from them whether he could soon be relieved from the dangerous position of materialistic existence. This was not, however, a question personally for Prithu Maharaj. It was raised to teach the common man that whenever one meets a great saintly person, one should immediately surrender unto him and inquire about relief from the material pains of existence. Therefore, Srila Narottam Das Thakura says, Samsara Vishanale Diva Nishi Hiyajvale Judhaita Na Kainupaya. We are always suffering from material pangs and our hearts are burning, but we cannot find any way out of it. The materialistic person can also be called a tapasvi, which means someone who is always suffering from material pains. One can get rid of all these material pains only when he takes shelter of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is also explained by Narottam Das Thakura. Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Ratina Janmila Kenetaya. Narottama Das Thakura regretted that he did not pursue his attraction for the transcendental vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The conclusion is that all the persons in this material world are suffering from material pains, and if one wants to get rid of them, he must associate with saintly persons, pure devotees of the Lord, and chant the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the only auspicious way for materialistic persons. End of purport. नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादिपाश्चात्यादेशधारिणे जय श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I humbly seek the blessings of all assembled Vaishnavas, and thank you for the opportunity to purify myself by reading and summarizing from Srimad Bhagavatam today. So I'll try to summarize based on Srila Prabhupada's purports and some notes from senior Vaishnavas. And please forgive if I add my own interpretation to the summary. So we see here how there's this beautiful exchange is happening between Prithu Maharaj and the four Kumaras. And the four Kumaras came as the representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is mentioned that nothing spiritual is possible without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So here we see how Prithu Maharaj, himself being Satyavesh Avatar, is still asking questions to the four Kumaras who are self-realized. And we see here that in this section, Prithu Maharaj is asking the questions similar to how Arjuna asked Krishna, or how Parikshit Maharaj was asking Sukadeva Goswami. And all these questions, although are not pertaining to themselves, like they are for all of us who can benefit from this exchange. So it's mentioned that one has to behave like a fool in front of a great personality, because it's very important to get the dust of the great personalities. And if we have any pride in us, then we would not get that mercy flown from the great personalities who we may associate with physically or by even voice. So it is mentioned that, I mean, in fact, King Kulashekar Alwar says that there is nothing tastier than the Lord's lotus feet. And then the natural question is, how do we taste the lotus feet of Krishna? And it is mentioned also that we can do that by taking the dust of the pure Vaishnavas or his representatives, Supreme Lord's representatives, and by listening to their instructions, which will transform us. So that's kind of the easiest way to taste the lotus feet of the Lord, just by associating with senior Vaishnavas, serving them, and by listening to their instructions and trying to follow them. So it is mentioned also that we should try to take every opportunity to associate with saintly persons, because our association or discussion and questions that we kind of gather from association with Vaishnavas goes a long way in basically developing our faith in this process. And our questions and discussions with Vaishnavas also should be sweet, true, and humble. So, with the motive to only improve in our spiritual practice and not to demonstrate or prove that um, uh, you are knowledgeable materially or spiritually. So, in this section, we also see that Prithu Maharaj is basically asking this question in verse number 15. It is said, I therefore ask you how in this material world we can very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life. So, this is a very practical section for us on how to understand and practice Krishna consciousness, because we clearly understand, and even yesterday from Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, we saw that this material place is definitely not a good place for a gentleman. So, and we should not be planning for permanent things in this material world. And we should be always be afraid of the money and fame that will come in this material world, which might just entangle us more to stay here. And but we will see also in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers that he stresses on the importance of this human life. The human life is such an opportunity that one can basically leverage it to get rid of this material cycle. And in fact, as also we saw yesterday, Prahlad Maharaj was so fearful and he was anxious about his attachment to money, fame, women, etc. And practically for us, our anxiety internally should be that I didn't chant properly, or I'm not doing devotional service, or I am offending Vaishnavas. So that way, when one is anxious, then it might facilitate better devotional service. So we know from so many verses in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita that the only way, as also Prabhupada mentions in the end of today's 15th verse, that the conclusion is that all persons in the material world are suffering from material pains. And if one wants to get rid of them, he must associate with saintly persons, pure devotees of the Lord, and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, the other important principle also that as practicing devotees we should remember is to preach this message of Krishna consciousness. Um, because it's said that even trees, which are living entities, live uh, based on air and water. But our purpose as humans is to live to serve Krishna. We can see we should see how others can also be connected to Krishna. And we should take up service that is practical for us and also be very strict in the sense that we should be following it and setting an example. So here we also see in this section that there are different um, um, points that Prabhupada highlights, that the four Kumaras were not inquired, that is Parikshit Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj did not inquire to four Kumaras about the Kumaras' welfare, but rather he was asking about how one could be relieved from this dangerous position. So even the mood of Prithu Maharaj here is that he's always curious about how he can improve, and then how his citizens can improve in this process of bhakti. So in conclusion, we can see here that Prithu Maharaj is showing several qualities of devotional service. So firstly, he's very humble. And even though he is like this Shaktivis avatar and is the king, but he's still being very humble because he's in the presence of the great personalities such as the four Kumaras. And also he's like uh, interested in the welfare of his citizens. So he's asking profound questions and practical questions so everyone might be benefited. And this discussion that will happen between Prithu Maharaj and four Kumaras um, again glorifies the devotional process. And also Prabhupada mentions that in today's verse where the only way to basically, the other easy way to get out of this material cycle is by hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada says that the perfection of life, in the beginning, the Kumaras were self-realized impersonalists, but gradually they became attracted to the personal pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The conclusion is that for those who are always engaged in devotional service of the personality of Godhead, the duality of the auspicious and inauspicious does not arise. And it's very applicable to what we do in this call, that, I mean, by just reading verses and hearing Prabhupada's purport every day in the morning, we are attracted, or we are hearing the personal pastimes of the Supreme Lord through his Shaktivis avatars or direct incarnations, expansions, etc. So this is the practical process that Prabhupada gave us, that every day in the morning we hear these pastimes, and that will also accelerate our path in devotional service. And we will be, if we follow it and take it sincerely, take up this process sincerely and follow it faithfully, then the duality of auspicious and inauspiciousness will go away. So